What an evening, eh? Oh, flip it heck. 23 degrees still, like almost 8 p.m. I've had to bring a little bottle of water with me. I'm gonna throw this in the bin now, but just in case I get dehydrated on the way down and didn't end up with enough water for this whole ride, because I'm actually racing. I'm racing and riding, or riding and then racing and then riding. So this could be like two and a half hour ride, and I need a lot of liquid. So remember I said last week that I would enter a bicycle race? Well, that's what's happening tonight. A local bicycle race at that, down Pembury Country Park. It's a wonderful evening to get my head kicked in by some youngsters. I'm looking forward to it. Just to give myself a little excuse, I slipped in 3 hard efforts during my warm-up. 2.5 to 3 minutes of like giving it gas, so I'm properly priming the engine but also fatiguing it a little bit, you know, just so that I've got an excuse in case I get dropped. You never know, never say never. So I actually asked the organisation tonight if I could film with my GoPro, and I know the organisation very well. However, it is out of their hands now. Apparently you have to seek sort of dispensation through British Cycling direct. So I sent them an email. Okay, it was late this afternoon, so I kind of thought it probably won't happen this week, and I haven't had a reply back, but fingers crossed in future I do manage to get special dispensation to be able to film the race, like from inside the race, using the GoPro. So although it didn't happen this week, hopefully it opens the door to it happening in the future. Fingers crossed. So the benefit of this circuit, which is purpose built, is that you can race it in 2 directions, and it's got a climb on it in both directions. Although it looks like tonight we're going to have like the sort of fast descent with the sharp left-hander, which is real nice actually, but it probably means that the sprint finish is going to come straight after it, which probably not going to suit me, let's be honest. So this is it right here. Couldn't have asked for better timing there, could we?
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a commentary. It's the best I could do with this because hopefully next time we'll be able to run with onboard footage, but we'll see how that goes. I'm going to try and do my best NorCal cycling impression in this video. You must know who NorCal cycling is, surely. One of the, to me anyway, because obviously I come from a racing background and it's where I started, is Criterium racing, doing this sort of racing back in like 2010. It's where I started. Whereas a lot of people have started their racing journey actually is in Criterium racing. So NorCal cycling, big shout out. I love watching some of your videos, like the whole breakdown, tactical like knowledge, and just seeing like sprint power, something that I don't have. But I want to get into this one, and I want to like try and break down the race a little bit, and it's gonna be in 3 parts. Okay. Now let me just get something out of the way really quick. I've got like some block nose issues going on. There's like an alien coming out of my brain right now, so that's why I sound like a cartoon character, all bunged up. But anyway, let's break down some of this. First footage I'm going to look at here is me like dangling off the back. What a great start to a 1 hour Criterium. This is actually a purpose-built circuit. If you're new to this channel, you might not have seen this circuit before. This is Pembury Country Park. This is a purpose-built 1.3 mile circuit, which has been around for a couple of years now. The Tour of Britain, the men's Tour of Britain started here 1 year. The women's Tour of Britain has finished here as well. It's a pretty cool facility, dead smooth tarmac, and there's multiple options to like, you know, shorten the circuit, lengthen the circuit, and there's a couple of tricky bends, but there's also a climb. So this, what you're seeing now, is kind of like the woodland area. It's been built in a really cool woodland area, which, giving this a nice summer's evening, just like, come on, leave a comment down below. How cool is the light? Like, it's really nice to be racing in nice conditions on a summer's evening. So this was a little bit like off the cuff. I didn't really plan on racing. It's been, oh, goodness knows how long since I've done a crit race, but it's one of these things where, you know, I think Criterium racing, it's definitely a specialist thing, just like hill climbing, I suppose. You know, the cornering, the sprinting, the acceleration, you know, the high speeds, you know, it all comes into play. So I'm going to break this down into 3 parts. Part 1 is the failure of me dangling off the back and getting used to crit racing again. Part 2 is the chill out section, and then part 3 is the finale. So this is part 1. This is where the race is just like absolutely full on for the first 30 minutes. I'm dangling off the back, trying to find my legs. You know, we've all been there. You know, if we're a bit rusty and we haven't been racing, or maybe we've taken a break, injury, illness, whatever, you know, we can all relate to it. You're out to that rhythm. And this corner in particular is one that, you know, you have to get used to and get right. And there was one other corner as well, which Wayne, big shout out to you, buddy, for standing on the side of this race and filming for everybody's pleasure. Thank you so much. He didn't make it over to the far side of the course where that corner was, but it was pretty tight, so he did have to kick pretty hard out of it. Multiple surges of, like, you know, 700 watts every time. I know 700 watts from me, but, like, you know, most people who race crits and are successful at crits, they have a much higher peak power than 850 watts, which was mine today, or tonight rather. So, you know, that's one department where I am not significantly blessed. But, you know, if you're a hill climber, I suppose you're not necessarily going to have, you know, everything to your advantage. So, this section of the course is the climb. It's a wonderful part of this circuit, and it's not very often you get purpose-built courses, I suppose, that have climbs on. Maybe you guys in America are watching, maybe, you know, it's something that you find quite rare in your racing endeavours. Maybe you would like circuits with climbs on, or maybe you just prefer, you know, flat, fast and big sprint finishes for your races. But yeah, you know, nothing really to report from part 1 of this. Part 1 is just basically me trying to find my legs, and I'm trying to figure out, you know, who's the fastest, you know, who's the most active, what teams do we have here. We do have teams, you know. We have a couple of riders from Cafe Griff, we have a couple of riders from some teams around South Wales, you know, a lot of youth development, junior development coming along nicely around here. So, you know, this is actually real tactic stuff going on at a local level, which, you know, when I was a junior 10 years ago, it was like every man for himself. You know, there was like no tactics. And it's funny how cycling has changed over the last 10 years to a point where, you know, people are deploying tactics, you know, even at your local crit race, which I think is actually brilliant to see. So part 2, which is, I think, the kind of footage we're looking at now, is from 30 minutes to about 40 minutes into this race, where there's a lull, and attacks have been flying off, and people have been, you know, trying to get in the breakaway or trying to break things up. And given the group is so small, it's why it wasn't such a big risk, you know, being near the back of this group. You can see everything that's happening, there's not very many of you, and you can respond to something quite quickly. The only downside is that on this sort of course, or the way it was set up, because it wasn't the full circuit we were using, it got strung out pretty quickly. Now, after the little lull, about 40 minutes in, a couple of attacks went. And interestingly, I was going to follow 1 or 2 of them, but I thought better of it, given how much I'd suffered the first 30 minutes.
20 minutes left, 10 laps to go.
So instead, I sat in. Now, at this time, a group of 3 went away, and 1 rider chasing behind, who I think eventually got across. But this caused mass panic. As you can see, the group is now split into a good few pieces, but I'm still on the back. I'm still on the back because I'm confident knowing that it's not all going to completely blow up here at this point, because there's still 20 minutes to go. People are still keen on getting to the finish in a good group, because we are quite close to the finish. Like, if it was only 15 minutes into the race, I would have been extremely more active there if I knew that it was going to split, you know, with 45 minutes left of racing. But because we only had a couple of minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes left, I knew people would still be eager to chase or bury themselves. So my gamble paid off, and the group came back together. The breakaway still stayed away, But I was now able to start thinking about doing things. So I was starting to attack on the little climb that we had on the back half of the circuit. And what you'll see, and the reason why I haven't cut the footage too much here, is because I wanted you to get a feel of the gap. So how it was shrinking and how it was growing. So there's a couple of clips here now where the group, the breakaway, is like a good 10 seconds in front of us. And then at one point, it's only like 5 seconds or 6 seconds, like in this clip. And then it just balloons out in one of the next clips. And what happened was I was attacking on the climb because I realized that the group of 4 were working really well in front, and they were actually sustaining a very high average speed. When I looked on Strava afterwards, they were going much quicker than us overall because they were working together. But what we were doing was, because we weren't working together, and even though failed attempts to get us to work together occurred, then it was actually a really useful thing to do. But by attacking on the climb, not only was it closing the gap really quickly, because the front 4 weren't climbing as fast as us absolutely sprinting up it, but it was also punishing other people. Now, this backfired on me because it still ended up in a bunch sprint, but it could have ended up many different ways. So eventually the gap goes out because there's no cohesion in our group, and I'm pretty happy just to surf and see what happens in the final sprint. Now, because if you remember from earlier clips in this race, we have this like really fast left-hander sweeping descent, and then we have this right-hander, which is right at the far end of this clip. We have this right-hander into this kind of cross headwind. You can see the flags going there. So what we kind of end with is this 4-up sprint from the break, which isn't really a sprint. If you look at it there, there's like they're finishing in like there's actual time gaps, which I didn't realize. So by coming over that last climb, I think it could be interesting to see, but there must have been some sort of attack there or break up. And it also comes down to people who can corner faster. So if you can come around that sharp left-hander on the descent really quick, you get a couple of bike lengths gap, and then you come around the final right-hander just before you line up for the sprint, and you get another gap, then it's not actually that far from the finish. So it's a really like fun circuit and race, and hopefully I can show you much more of it from an in-footage perspective. So I look forward to seeing you then, guys.
I'm just going to make it home before it gets dark. Thankfully, I've got a backlight, but I've not got a front light. But I'm only a couple of minutes away now, so whew, we made it. Well, what a race that was. And thank you so much, Wayne, for being there to film a little bit from the side. Really makes a difference, so I appreciate that, buddy, hanging around all that time. It was a whole hour, the race. My first race in ages, but I hope you enjoyed the commentary, because I think that's all I'm going to be able to get out of this video. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. Next week I'm going to try my hardest to get some special dispensation or whatever from British Cycling to ride with my GoPro filming the race. I mean, to be honest, there wasn't much to see from this one today anyway, apart from me almost getting dropped in the first couple of minutes. But it's all good fun and games. I hope you enjoy this little tangent to my videos, possibly. I'm enjoying doing something different, and I hope you are too. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Woo! Ha ha! Oh.